Welcome back to Yang Daily. First off, a quick reminder that with the Yang Gang's over 200,000 active members, we could save over 600,000 hours per day for phone banking if they were all listeners. And every day counts. This is why I started the podcast, but I need your help spreading it. The faster, the better. Tons of news today, so let's hit it. Humanity for Yang has announced that we will be trending a different hashtag every day through February 3rd, and today's hashtag is YangMoneyBomb for obvious reasons. It's trending well so far, but still behind hashtag impeachment hearing, and that will not do. Let's get it to number one. More importantly, this is our last day to donate to the end of quarter 3 mil donation goal that the media are going to be reporting on just before voting starts. We're picking up a ton of speed since yesterday, almost a mil up from there, but that still leaves a little over 1 mil to go before midnight Eastern tonight. We're at a crossroads, Yang Gang. If we stay where we are, the media will use this against us. If we can surge to meet the goal, it'll be all over the news that we raised 2 million in one day. We still have time to turn this misstep into a glorious victory. When you do donate, take a screenshot of your receipt and post it to the donation Twitter link. On that note, Scott Musgrove is raffling off a signed copy of Andrew's book, The War on Normal People. In order to get entered into the raffle, donate $19.99 to Yang's campaign using Scott's referral link. Multiple entries are allowed. Today's phone banking shout-out goes to David Liu, who spent his day in treatment at the Cancer Center and phone banking for Andrew Yang, reminding us all of what it looks like to truly fight for the future you want. Thank you, David. The next time I think I can't do more, I'll think of you. If you want to get a shout out on the podcast, tweet your volunteering efforts at Yang Dailycast on Twitter. Have to skip leaderboards, events, and policy today due to time. As always, check your local events daily at yang2020.com/events. But I will announce that Ken Jeong and Andrew Yang will be hosting a joint comedic town hall in Las Vegas on February 13th. A graph emerged today of the combined general election swing votes, that being previous Trump supporters, non-voters, and third-party voters, from the recent Emerson National poll, and it shows Andrew Yang clearly in the lead with 30%, followed by Bernie at 23, Biden at 16, Pete at 10, Bloomberg 8, Warren and Tulsi both at 5, Steyer and Delaney at 2, and Klobuchar at 0. Granted, this is a very small sample size, but it's entirely consistent with everything we've seen so far, all of which suggests Yang is far and away the best candidate to win the general election and the candidate that the Democratic Party would gain the most votes from nominating in the primary. The evidence continues to pile up, and yet mainstream media continues to ignore it. One would think that they want Trump to win. Kentucky sports radio host Matt Jones endorsed Andrew Yang today, saying, quote, "After coming to Iowa and listening to every candidate speak in person, I have decided I am for Andrew Yang. He is the candidate speaking about the issues that matter most for the future, and with a plan to actually help small towns across America. I am now Yang Gang." End quote. Welcome to the gang, Matt. Yang also picked up an endorsement from Cameron Sinclair, designer, writer, pioneer, and socially responsible architect, co-founder of Architecture for Humanity, and former executive director of Armory of Harmony, an organization for turning decommissioned weapons into musical instruments. Quite the interesting fellow. In his endorsement, Sinclair said, quote, "After careful consideration, I'm endorsing Andrew Yang for president. 6 clear reasons: keeping tech ethical, driving a human-centered economy, the freedom dividend, solutions for all Americans, a team willing to learn from others, and Andrew himself." End quote. Thank you, Cameron. Your work is a credit to the Humanity First spirit. Yang got a bit overwhelmed on the trail in Dubuque, Iowa today. He paused in the middle of his stump speech, covering his eyes with his hand, and had to take a minute to compose himself. It's unclear what he was thinking about exactly. The last thing he said before it happened was that Iowans would determine the future of the country, so it may have been thinking about the potential world we could shape, the gravity of the situation, how far the campaign has come. Who knows? He's been working himself extremely hard recently, doing 3 to 4 events per day for a month now, far more than any other candidate, so he's no doubt stressed and more emotional than the norm. I don't think it's anything to make a big deal of, but you can expect the media to pick up on it. NBC News already tweeted the video clip. Fortunately, the crowd was very supportive, applauding and saying, "Thank you, Andrew," so they at least seem to understand. Channel WQAD8 spun off a brief article on sorority of Yang. Nothing new, but they deserve the attention. Bloomberg released a hit piece on Andrew yesterday through his paid surrogate Ryan Beckwith, discussing Yang's sense of humor and subtly attempting to convince the reader that it's all a calculated political act. The article came off very transparent, pathetic, and desperate, an obvious attempt by Bloomberg to use his media network to smear an opponent. People can tell Yang's the real deal. It's one of the reasons we like him. We can also tell when something's not the real deal, like Bloomberg and his articles. I advise you not to check out the article, as I already feel dirty having given it one view. Guest columnist for the Gazette, Heather Mead, wrote a much less offensive article on how Yang is the best candidate to help Cedar Rapids. The town was devastated by a flood in 2008, which erased many businesses and homes, plunging over 11% of the community into poverty, along with 17% working full-time but unable to make ends meet. The author argues that this will only grow much worse when automation decimates 1/3 of the remaining jobs, and that the $93 million per month that would be brought in by Yang's UBI is the best way to revitalize this disintegrating community. She also argues that Yang's is the only plan with a detailed and practical payment plan, and that the proposed taxes would do very little harm, while the dividend would do a world of good to rebuild the town's economy at the direction of its citizens. The article closes by imploring Cedar Rapids citizens to vote for Yang. Chicago's Fox 32 News did an excellent piece on Dr. King and his fight for UBI, titled "Before Andrew Yang, MLK was the champion of universal basic income." Unfortunately, I only had time to skim it so far, but it looks to be quite in-depth on his fight for economic rights and has a number of great quotes. Worth a read. Barry Weiss of the New York Times released an article titled, "Did I Just Get Yanged? Andrew Yang is showing what healthy populism looks like." It starts with Yang winning the straw poll, yet still foolishly marks him as a long shot, makes a very hackneyed attempts at categorizing his diverse following as a group of nerds. I'm sure the truckers love that. Says younger people telling older people to YouTube him is how most people find out about him, as well as podcasts. Then observes that cultural influence lies more with people like Joe Rogan than people like Rachel Maddow, that Yang is blazing a new trail for politics with his campaign, how Yang speaks the least but has the most impact at the debates, that he stands for fundamental values the other campaigns have given up on, that he's pulling the most support from reps, indies, and disaffected voters, how he's not afraid to talk to people he disagrees with, how diverse his following is, and how Trump is the wrong answer to the right question. The author noted when Yang was jokingly asked about adopting the metric system, and he responded with a thoughtful answer about how the metric system is safer, not least because it is more accurate for microdosing baby medicine. To hear Andrew Yang talk is to understand why it's possible for people like the Petersons to support him, Ms. Weiss says. Unlike the president, he never demonizes other Americans. He unites them. She also quoted our favored canvasser, Sonny Payne, saying she kept hearing the same story from people in South Carolina, which is, "I don't care about climate change because I need to put food on the table. I have 3 jobs. I barely sleep. To these people, $1,000 a month would be life-changing." This, of course, almost word for word what Yang has been telling us about why he thinks we've made so little progress on climate change and why he thinks UBI would make that challenge much easier to tackle. In closing, Ms. Weiss says, quote, "If getting yanged means that I believe that this curious campaign is a cause for that rarest thing in current American politics, hope, and that Mr. Yang is modeling how to harness the populist energy that otherwise threatens to tear us apart, then count me Yang Gang," end quote. ABC 7's Kristen Zay wrote a piece on Yang and the Yang Gang. It covered his meteoric rise, mentioning how he's gone from 60,000 Twitter followers in March to over 1.2 million today, and from running the campaign out of his mother's basement to raising $16.5 million in a quarter. Then the article included video clips of Yang hangs, canvassing, and Yang crowd surfing, painting the Yang Gang as an energetic and upbeat lot. Fitting right in with the tone of the article, a clip was released of Yang thanking Kristen for the article with a high five in a hallway. Can't say I have ever seen a politician interact with the press that way before. Another Chappelle clip surfaced yesterday in which he said that it was inspiring to see Andrew take on such a difficult and unlikely task and pursue it anyway because it's a worthy cause. Chappelle also remarked that based on all the Yang supporters from disparate backgrounds attending his events, it seems he's pulling it off as well. Newsweek put out an article covering the Yang will win hashtag trending yesterday. It touched on Yang's rise from anonymity to contender for the presidency, some tweets using the hashtag, explaining that Yang will win because he's the only candidate who understands the modern world, because he's the only one attracting large support from all ideological camps, because of the immense enthusiastic support he has from volunteers, and because he won the Iowa Youth Straw Poll, the winner of which usually goes on to win the real thing. Today's Yang Daily 10 task is to give up your daily coffee or some other luxury to donate even just $5 to Yang to help us hit this monumental goal. Yang and the gang accomplish the impossible every day. Let's do this. The press coverage, if we hit this goal, will be priceless. And don't forget what these donations mean. It's a donation to ending poverty, to keeping people off the streets, to giving kids the nutrition they need, to letting parents raise their own kids, to giving your friends and family a dignified retirement, to giving the people a stronger voice than lobbyists. This is a donation to a brighter, more humane future for you and everyone you know. Whatever you can spare, now is the time. And that's our Yang News for today. Buy some merch, donate directly using the book Raffle link or Zach and Matt's shoutout link. Then post your screenshot to the Twitter thread so we can thank you. Check your local events. Tell everyone Yang has the graph to prove he's the most electable, and get your name on those volunteer leaderboards. As always, please share this podcast so we can save people as much time as possible for volunteering, and don't forget to Yang daily.